welcome back to Two Wheel Trends, your go-to spot for all things two-wheelado, where scooters meet street smarts and power meets personality. Today, we're diving deep into something that has stirred up quite the buzz in the scooter scene. Kawasaki, known for their off-road beasts and superbikes, has thrown everyone a curveball with the new 2025 Kawasaki KX500 Scooter. You heard that right, a KX500 and scooter in the same sentence. Intrigued? So were we. Let's break it all down and find out if this bold move is just clever branding or the real deal. Now, when you hear KX500, the mind flashes back to Kawasaki's legendary two-stroke motocross machine that dominated the dirt tracks in the 80s and 90s. That name isn't just a number, it carries weight, aggression, and a history of raw performance. So, slapping that iconic badge onto a scooter instantly sets some seriously high expectations. But Kawasaki isn't backing down. They've reinvented the KX legacy for the streets, mixing city convenience with off-road, and what they've built is far from your average urban commuter. Let's start from the front, where the KX500 scooter really makes its first impression. The face is aggressive, inspired by motocross aesthetics but blended with urban finesse. The dual LED headlamp setup is flanked by aerodynamic fairings that cut sharply, giving it a muscular, almost predatory stance. The matte green paint, reminiscent of Kawasaki's racing identity, is accentuated by black and white decals that scream "Don't mess with me." It's edgy without being overdone, and somehow, it balances scooter practicality with motocross energy. Below the headlamps, the front fender is lifted just enough to hint at its off-road capability, while the 14-inch front wheel wrapped in semi-knobby rubber hints that this scooter might not be afraid of a little dirt. Upside-down front forks, painted in anodized gold, aren't just for show either. They provide solid damping performance and absorb road imperfections like a champ, especially if you ride over rough urban terrain or take the occasional shortcut through a gravel path. Swinging to the side and then to the rear, you can really appreciate the proportion of this scooter. The side panels continue the aggressive motif with bold angles and exposed framework that feels a lot more dual sport than city scooter. The seat is slightly elevated at the rear, creating a step-up profile that's not only comfortable for the rider but also gives the pillion a commanding view of the road. It's firm yet well-padded, striking a fine balance for long-distance comfort without compromising the sporty feel. At the back, things get even more interesting. The rear tail section tapers sharply and is integrated with a high-mounted LED brake light, framed by slim, dynamic turn indicators. There's a functional mini mudguard under the tail, a feature borrowed directly from dirt bikes. The exhaust exits on the right in an upswept canister that's surprisingly chunky for a scooter, another nod to its performance roots. There's no mistaking this machine for a mild-mannered commuter. When viewed from behind, it looks like it's ready to bolt even when standing still. Now let's get to the heart of the matter. What makes this scooter a KX500? The engine. Nestled inside that tough-looking frame is a 499cc liquid-cooled, single-cylinder engine that's been tuned not just for speed but for torque-heavy responsiveness. Kawasaki didn't go the two-stroke route here, which purists might frown at, but they've instead built a modern four-stroke power plant that delivers punchy mid-range power, smooth low-end pull, and solid top-end rush, ideal for everything from urban street fighting to weekend trail adventures. On paper, we're talking about around 46 horsepower and 45 Nm of torque. In real-world riding, that translates to a scooter that can out-accelerate most cars off the line and cruise comfortably at highway speeds without feeling breathless. The throttle response is instant, almost startling at first, especially if you're used to tame 125cc city scooters. But that's what makes this thing so exciting. It wants to go, and it wants you to hang on. Paired with a CVT automatic gearbox, the engine's power delivery feels seamless, but not lazy. There's a sports mode that sharpens the response and delivers a more aggressive mapping for those spirited rides. Need to overtake on a highway? Twist the throttle and you're gone. Want to cruise through traffic? The throttle's modulation is smooth enough to thread through gaps effortlessly. It's a versatile engine that feels just as comfortable slicing through urban congestion as it does hammering down an open stretch of road. Ride quality is surprisingly plush for such a rugged-looking machine. Thanks to the long travel suspension at both ends and a reinforced chassis, the scooter glides over potholes and rough patches with poise. The rear monoshock is preload adjustable, letting you tweak the ride depending on whether you're solo or carrying a pillion. The brakes, meanwhile, are top-tier. Front and rear disc setup with dual-channel ABS gives you confidence in all conditions. The braking feel is progressive, and you can confidently bring this 160-kilo beast to a halt without drama. Fuel economy isn't mind-blowing, but it's acceptable for this segment. You're looking at around 28 to 32 kilometers per liter under mixed riding conditions. Not the most frugal, but again, this isn't built for savings, it's built for soul. Tank capacity is 11 liters, which gives you a decent range before you need to fill up again. For those who want that performance kick with just enough practicality, the KX500 Scooter threads the needle beautifully. On the tech front, Kawasaki hasn't gone overboard but has given just enough to keep it modern. You've got a digital TFT instrument cluster with smartphone connectivity via Kawasaki's Radiology app. It gives you turn-by-turn navigation, ride stats, service alerts, and call message notifications. The controls are tactile and well laid out, and there's even a USB-C charging port tucked into the underseat storage. Speaking of which, you do get a modest compartment under the seat, enough for a half-face helmet and a few daily essentials. So what's the price of this performance-packed machine? Kawasaki has priced the 2025 KX500 Scooter at around $7,999 in the US market, and approximately a superscript 16.8 lakhs in India if it ever makes it there as a CBU. That's premium for a scooter, no doubt, but when you factor in the engine, the design, the legacy, and the ride experience, it starts to make sense. This isn't your entry-level daily ride. This is a scooter for enthusiasts, for those who want the heart of a dirt bike in the body of a street-savvy machine. Now, before we wrap up, here's the final take. The 2025 Kawasaki KX500 Scooter isn't just a scooter with a big engine, it's a whole new category. It takes the aggression of Kawasaki's motocross heritage, fuses it with practical features, and delivers a ride that's equal parts thrilling and functional. It's for riders who've outgrown the blandness of everyday scooters and crave a machine that stands out. Yes, it's bold. Yes, it's expensive. But it's also one of the most exciting releases in the scooter world this year. And that's a wrap on today's review. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the KX500 Scooter, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to Two Wheel Trends, and let us know in the comments, would you ride this beast, or is it too wild for your city routine? We'll see you in the next video, and until then, ride safe and ride smart.